is you're in charge of your life. No one can change it. No one can touch it. No one can influence. No one, I mean, all those things are around you, but bottom line is you are the one that can change your life, make different decisions, say yes or no, say sure I will, or that's not what I am going to do. Now, and this goes in every arena of your life: health, wealth, business, relationships, children, across the board. You are the one that is in charge, and it's called self-empowerment. But we never had those tools.
And self-responsibility.
And absolutely. So, well, that's what the yes and the no is going to do for you. Is give you what you're doing is you're not giving responsibility. This day and age, and it's been this way for quite a few years now, you're taking back responsibility for my life, and I'll be okay with that. And I'll just give you a short cliff note of my near-death experience. When God said, you're in charge, you have free will and free choice, and no one can violate that without your permission. And I went, what? And he said, yes, you have to give permission. And if you're not using a voice to give permission, or an action that insinuates and is very definitive, then you're giving by default. You're saying, okay, I agree with that. When you might in your heart and soul already know that. That's why we're talking about mindset. So we want to throw out the mindset that we thought we had to live and start to live.
Which would be like the belief systems, like the way that old training that it's everyone else's fault. Yes. Everyone else they caused me this pain. Everyone is doing it to me. This is actually pulling it back, saying, really, I can think differently, and none of that has any influence on me. I have to take responsibility for myself, right?
Right. Yeah. And I can't blame anybody for where I am or what's going on.
Right. The blame is just a lost cause. Like don't even bother anymore. If you want to stay stuck, go ahead and blame. That's great. But if you want to own your shit and keep it moving, take responsibility for yourself, because it's always a reflection of you anyway.
Right.
So
right. If you're blaming somebody, that's a clue that you are feeling down and out, and you don't have an answer, but you can turn that around in 1 second. I'm not going to blame, quote, my boss anymore. He can't keep me on the job. He can't make me do he can't make me work 20 hours a day. I have to just step back and own myself, and I'll sit down and work on that plan.
Yeah, so it's just a shift in perspective, you know, like a shift from what you think you have to or were taught to believe to knowing there's something else, and then just be willing to look at something different. Like, how would my life be different if I didn't blame? How would my life be different if I didn't have to always be right? How would my life be different if I didn't judge? How would my life be different if I wasn't angry? You know, to me, anger is an easy one that just, people fly off the handle of driving. And it's like, wait a second, you're losing so much of yourself.
Right, exactly.
You know, like, what are you doing?
Right, like the car that drives in front of you and whips in front of you, and then you get to the next 5 lights and they're still just in front of you. And what was that anger and that?
Right, you just exhausted yourself. You took yourself out of your vibration, because everything is energy and vibration, right? Like, we know by our feeling what's going on, and it just seems like the go-to emotion to me is always anger. You know, anger or blame or judgment. Well, I guess those are the big ones. But it doesn't really need to be that way if you're willing and open to just shift your mindset to believe in something a little easier. Like, oh, wow, if maybe, they have to get home to their child that's having a fever and they were, worried, right? If we put ourselves in their shoes, life gets to be a little more compassionate, a little bit more understanding. You don't have to...
comfortable to us, too. When I say, if I'm driving and someone does that and I say, oh, he must have a plate full, or she must have a plate full, and then
Well, it's not
okay.
always about us, and
Right,
that I
it's
think
never about us
that
like
is
that.
like the default mechanism that we
Mhm.
make it about us, like taking anything personal.
Mhm.
You have no idea what's going on in somebody's head. Each person's head and brain is a whole universe.
Mhm.
You want to be in charge of that? I don't.
I don't either.
I don't either. I do not.
No, we want to give them back their own life and get on with our own. So when we remove blame and guilt and judgment, what we're doing is saying, do your thing, and I'm going to do what I need to do for me.
Yes.
So that's really important to begin to just take charge of your life in that way. And that's kind of an emotional thing in one sense, but the emotions play out in real life.
But the emotions, as far as like when you're feeling the frustration, or like what do you mean? Like what?
Well, when you're say you're feeling frustrated as somebody cuts in front of you,
Yes.
just say, okay, you got your life. I don't know what's going on, but I can't keep falling in there and blaming you for how I
Because
feel.
then
right
you
now.
fell in the trap, right?
Right.
You're the one that got trapped, right?
Mhm,
You're
right.
walking through the forest,
Well,
and
you're the one that had to shut down.
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
So like it's almost like you stepped in a bear trap. Like, do you really want to do that every time you see a car? Like, it's on your ankle now. Now you got to work through that to get undone, to get back to the truth of you're enjoying your day, right?
Right.
It pulls you away from yourself every time you do that.
Yeah, and that's why we wanted people to use their consciousness.
Yes.
Are you being pulled away?
Right.
Are you being held hostage?
Do you want to spend your
think?
time? Do you want to spend the quality of your time? Do you want to share that and bring that forward to your children? I don't. I absolutely do not.
Or to your life period, because it's an ongoing thing.
Exactly. It pulls you down. You're like, you get home and you're exhausted, right?
Mhm.
That's because you just gave all of it away on the ride home, which is like redundant nonsense.
Yeah.
And so many people, it's like, it's almost like a norm, and it's like, it doesn't have to be. That's why we're here. This does not have to be a norm anymore. That it's
No.
You can switch it on a dime.
Right.
So how would you recognize that? Like when you get aggravated, when you feel like, how do you stop it in that moment?
In that moment, that's the biggest clue you could have is like, oh, I just let go because I'm feeling it.
Right.
So I'm gonna bless that person, forgive that person. I mean, you might even say, well, I'll swear at him. Go ahead, but then get over it and get over you. So however
Right.
you have to handle it, the thing there is becoming conscious. And then, when you go to work and your boss
Like
is
just noticing, like you
Notice,
just start to
notice.
notice, where am I being pulled? Like, okay, the car pulled me. Okay, the
Right.
next thing is my coffee took 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, my next thing is, so those are the little pulls, like what did you say? And you start to notice, oh wow, I was feeling really good, but then the little pull, first it's a big pull, then you start to get more awareness, and then it starts to get less and less, and pretty soon you're like, go ahead in front of me, dude, like I'm good. Right? I'm listening to my good like podcast or YouTube, I'm good.
Right. You find different avenues through your choice and your free will, even 2-second avenues. Like, okay, you stop for coffee, it's 10 minutes. That's the way it is. I had the time built in. I'm
Yeah.
good.
Right.
And enjoy the 10-minute wait in your car and then get your delicious coffee.
Well, that brings up just like how key too is like part of it is being, radical acceptance of what is in life instead of the resistance, and that's like that resistance to that car pulling in front of you, right?
Right.
If you have a choice in that moment, you want to get pissed and cause friction or resistance,
In
right,
your own
in your
life.
own subconscious and conscious,
Mhm.
or do you want to radically accept what is actually going on in the now and then keep like flowing, right? Like the whole river thing, going down the river.
Right. Mhm.
Do you want to go down the river, or would you like to keep paddling up the river? I mean, I don't.
Right.
That's like a lot of work. That's like hard stuff. But that's what we're doing every time we run into those situations. We're constantly turning the canoe around, paddling upwards.
Right.
Instead of saying, "Oh my God, I hit a little rock. I noticed it. No big deal. Go ahead."
And this is physical life on the planet. So are you going to resist physical life on the planet your whole life, or are you just going to keep in your canoe or your rowboat or whatever you have, whatever you're doing, whatever you want to compare it to that works for you, and just say, oh, okay, I have to deal with me. You only have the energy to deal with you when you're choosing from your heart and your soul those situations do become less and less, though,
Yeah, they do.
because we don't take on every single thing
Right.
around us
And then you
every
get
single
more and
minute.
more energy.
Yes.
There's more and more happiness,
So
you
the
know.
restoration to
Yeah.
you does come,
Mm-hmm.
which is
The
that's
more
the
you let
glorious.
go of
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
stuff having such an effect,
Yes.
there is less and less of it, right? Because we're learning. Each time we do that, we have an opportunity to learn. Is that how I want to go? Is that my choice?
Mhm.
And then you jump back to, it's not that important to me anymore.
Right. It's not that important that I get so emotionally involved that I have to be emotionally upset. I have to blame you, and then I have to talk about it when I get to work, and then I'm
and share
wearing
with
it all
everyone.
day.
Oh Lord.
So life becomes easier when we begin to see other people going through the same things that we are, and they have to do it their way. So it's like, okay, if that's your way, I'm okay with it. I want to withdraw because I want to be me and me.
Right.
I want to live the me life that begins to move out of those places where I hold anybody else responsible.
And at first it does kind of feel like you're going against the grain because it's so like normal to be like pissed off.
Well,
you know
yeah,
what
and
I
you're
mean?
so angry, like, well, who's going to tell them if I don't, or who's going to handle this if I
who's
don't?
going to, teach them the lesson? But
Right.
the lesson is more about you.
Mm-hmm.
The lesson is like for you to be like, okay, I don't need to even bother with this anymore.
Right, because that person is totally unaware and acting out, but not registering that acting out. And it's
Yeah.
not our job. We don't have to fix them. Nobody's broken.
Yep.
They're
And
figuring
that's,
out
like,
their path.
The best gift ever is if we can return to that mindset of everybody's whole, no one's broken, and we are not responsible to change anyone or anything. I'm telling you, that is the Willy Wonka's golden ticket,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
Yep. You're not responsible. They are responsible. So just, if you can, bless them or just send them whatever you think you can. Love her. If you're not there, that's okay too. But just don't get on it. Don't get in his boat with them.
Yeah, don't get on that roller coaster unless you're ready for a ride.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So that's our wisdom for today. That was a lot in a short amount of time. We think we filled your cup up, and it's might be a little overflowing, but take what you could use. Just kind of practice those little steps of just noticing, like, those little things, and use what tips and tricks you can. And every day gets a little bit better and better, and pretty soon you're like, wow, I didn't even know this was possible.
Right.
So
Yes.
taking self-responsibility is like your ticket to just really creating
Freedom.
the desires of your heart, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So if you like this video, please subscribe, share, and bless your friends, your family. We do consulting, Akashic and intuitive consulting, to help you in the areas that you feel stuck.